Welcome back. So, you've brought us quite the collection of sources today. Reading through them was, well, let's just say deeply unsettling, is putting it mildly.
They certainly have that effect. These aren't just campfire stories, are they?
No, definitely not. They're narratives that really twist the familiar, make it genuinely terrifying. They seem to probe, fear itself. So today, we're not just recounting these stories. We're going to try and unpack what makes them hit so hard. What are those little nuggets of insight they offer about, well, the unknown, and maybe even about ourselves?
Right. And what strikes me is how, even though the settings and plots are all over the place, they consistently tap into these really universal anxieties.
Like what specifically?
Well, the big ones, really. The fear of the unknown, obviously, that feeling of losing control, and maybe the most visceral one when something you know and trust, something familiar, suddenly turns monstrous.
Exactly, that transformation. We'll definitely be exploring some of those accounts, looking for those moments where, normal life just cracks open and something chilling seeps through. So, what's the bigger picture here? What does it all mean for how we see the world and those things that go bump in the night? Let's start with the really personal stuff. Some of these horrors seem rooted deep in personal experience, often starting in childhood, or even inside the home, the place you're supposed to feel safest.
The violation of sanctuary.
Precisely. Take the first one, The Stars in the Ceiling. It's about this kid with a really intense fear of the dark.
Which is common enough,
But it's made so much worse by an abusive father. He apparently deliberately played on that fear, smashing nightlights, slamming the door shut, leaving the child in total darkness.
That's incredibly cruel.
It is. The mother tried to help in small ways, like leaving the door cracked open a bit, a sliver of light. But the father would always slam it shut again. And it was after one of those times, door slammed shut, that the whispers started. Described as these small, chilling whispers, filling my room like a cold breeze, a cacophony of secrets,
Right.
And definitely not his parents.
Okay, that's unnerving.
Yeah. But then something strange. Protection, almost. One night, after the door slam, the kid opens his eyes, expecting pitch black, but sees, well, these shining white dots above him, like a constellation, just enough light to calm him down a bit. He assumed his mom had put up glow-in-the-dark stars.
But it wasn't that simple, was it?
Not at all. The really disturbing part comes years later. The narrator finds out from his mother. The father wasn't arrested the night he disappeared.
Okay.
The mother saw it happen. She said while the father was standing there in the kid's room looking up at those stars, he just started to lift off the ground.
Lift off the ground.
Yeah. She said it was as if the darkness itself was pulling him up. He vanished upwards and then dropped from the ceiling and smacked against the floor. His body was, horribly broken. As if from a plane a mile up, she said.
Wow. So the stars.
Weren't stars. The mother believed something must have been looking out for the child. Those dots, beady white orbs that hung above my head every night. They were always there. A really strange, maybe even sinister kind of protection.
A deeply ambiguous protection that's also inherently terrifying.
Exactly. And this wasn't the narrator's only brush with the inexplicable. They also remembered these birds, a dove, and a raven that would sing predictions, almost like memories playing out.
Predictions?
Yeah. And later, this dog figure outside the window, described as hunched over with yellow glowing eyes and scrapes of skin peeling off, it suggests this ongoing connection, maybe, to these weird entities.
So if you link that back, these stories seem to blend childhood trauma, the very real horror of abuse, with this external supernatural element. Maybe protective, maybe not. It makes you ask, is the real monster the father, or is it this older stranger force intervening? And what does that intervention really mean?
That mix of internal psychological dread and this sort of cosmic mystery is, it's potent. It brings to mind another story, Poggers, which focuses more on that horror coming from within someone familiar.
Ah, yes, the transformation of a loved one.
Right. It's about the narrator's boyfriend, Charlie. He starts compulsively saying the word Poggers, just blurting it out like a tick.
Strange, but maybe just annoying at first.
You'd think, but it gets much, much worse. His breath becomes foul, described vividly as like battery acid poured over rotting roast beef. He starts spitting this thick and frothy, sickly yellow substance with streaks of red. It gets really graphic. Thin trails of smoke start coming from his mouth. The liquid he spits causes an intense burning sensation if it touches skin.
This sounds like something out of a body horror film.
It really does. His body trembles, his skin dries out, eyes turn yellow. The narrator literally says he became like something from a cheesy zombie flick, just shambling, barely human anymore.
And the ending.
The chilling part is a paramedic, leaning in close, whispers this one line, "This is not pagers?" Implying, well, something utterly outside normal medical understanding.
It's not just physical decay then, it's the decay of the person, of intimacy, of identity itself. The horror isn't just seeing the change, it's the complete, irreversible loss of the person you knew. That's terrifying on a whole different level.
That idea of the familiar becoming alien, someone you love turning into something else, yeah, that hits a deep nerve. Okay, so we've seen fear twist personal lives. Let's zoom out now. How does this play out on a bigger stage, a societal level?
Well, that brings us to the plates.
Right, this one's global. Imagine the scene. The entire world watching, panicking, as these massive objects the size of 3 football stadiums appear from behind Mars and start heading straight for Earth.
Instant chaos, I assume.
Total chaos. Celebrity pastors preaching end times, UFO hunters suddenly looking credible, extremists using social media to stir things up, riots, unrest, the works.
And the objects themselves, the plates.
Described as huge, dull metal plates, multi-sided but almost flat, covered in these intricate, tessellated structures. Astronauts apparently nicknamed them Mandelas.
Strange. Did they try to communicate?
Sort of. They emitted these discordant beeps. Scientists in Canada managed to decode them as numbers. And then an intern, of all people, figures it out. The numbers match ISBNs.
ISBNs, like for books.
Exactly. For one specific book, Thomas More's Utopia. And somehow this links back to the Voyager 1 probe NASA sent out in 77.
Okay, that's bizarre. Utopia. So what happened? Did people think it was salvation?
That's the hook. This idea of utopia sparks this desperate hope. Mass pilgrimages start. People flock to the predicted landing sites, hoping for, well, anything better. The narrator mentions their own sister, Lena, who was terminally ill, went seeking a cure.
Oh no, I have a bad feeling about this.
You should. Arrival day. The plates descend silently. Ramps extend. And thousands, including Lena, just rush onto them, desperate. The ramps just withdraw. People start panicking, crushed against each other. The description is horrifying. A massive crushing, leading to countless people suffocated and destroyed.
Oh my God. What about inside the Utopia?
The few who were rescued later reported only darkness and hearing skittering sounds inside. Many committed suicide or just became completely unresponsive. The source is blunt. It was nobody's idea of utopia, the estimate. Up to 100 million people departed the planet that night.
Wow. That leverages that global anxiety, that deep human need for hope, for salvation, and just utterly subverts it. It makes you question, is the real terror the unknown alien thing, or is it our own desperate, sometimes self-destructive hope, the false promise?
The danger of projecting our desires onto something we don't understand at all, that's a chilling thought. Okay, let's shift gears again, go back in time. 1803, a Royal Navy mission disguised as naturalists, the Lagoon Horror.
Right, Captain Hullam's expedition.
They find this place in Uruguay, Lagoa Negra, Black Lagoon. The water is crystal clear, but the bed is black as coal dust, like a powder burn. Looks strange, but maybe just geological.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
But this is one of these stories.
Exactly. A crewman, Park Hill, dives in. He comes out horribly swollen, covered in these ink black capillaries, something they call Stygian pox. He starts expelling thick black bile, and then he dies.
Just from diving in.
Apparently. But it gets weirder. The party sent to bury him, they vanish, poof, gone.
The whole party.
Whole party. And then Park Hill, the dead guy, he's seen back on the ship's deck, just standing there, no life behind his eyes, moving like a marionette.
Okay, that's full-on horror movie territory now.
It gets worse. The ship's carpenter, a Mr. Andrews, who supposedly had some foresight, his glass eye is found later, still sticky with his blood. His remains are discovered below deck. The implication is something consumed him.
Consumed him. By what?
It's never seen clearly. The ship is just plagued by this entity. At one point, a crewman disturbs it while climbing the rigging, wound itself around the top gallant, and it just decapitates him.
Jeez.
In the end, they can't fight it. They have no choice but to scuttle the ship, the iron-on, burn it, just to contain whatever was on board.
It's that classic fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
The monster hidden in nature, something ancient, malevolent, utterly beyond our comprehension, turns a scientific trip into a raw fight for survival. Some things are just destructive.
So we've gone from childhood bedrooms to global disasters to historical expeditions. Looking back at all these accounts you've shared, what's the common thread? What does it all mean?
Well, I think at their core, these stories are really about the breakdown of reality, the subversion of safety, the home, the promise of utopia from the stars, even a scientific journey. The places or ideas we think are secure, they become the gateways to terror. They really highlight how fear manifests when the rules just stop applying. When you're faced with something utterly inexplicable, it's not just about being startled. It's that deep dread when your understanding of the world just shatters.
And we see that in some of the other sources too, right? Like the Twin Lakes murders starts as maybe true crime, but then the suspect, Robert Howard Colby, seems to undergo this monstrous transformation.
Exactly. Or even the dark web cooking channel. Something as mundane as looking for recipes online leads to uncovering these just stomach-churning horrors about human consumption.
It shows how the disturbing, the truly unexplained can just erupt from everyday life, doesn't it? Shattering that sense of security when you least expect it.
Absolutely. And the nuggets we talked about, they're not just about what's scary, they're about how we try to cope, how we try to rationalize things that are fundamentally beyond comprehension. It forces you to think about fear itself. Is the monster the scary part, or is it the mystery, the why? The fact that there is no why sometimes.
That lack of explanation, that void, yeah, that can be the most terrifying thing. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If you faced something like this, truly unfathomable, how would you react? Would you cling to the familiar? Or would that curiosity, maybe foolishly, pull you deeper in?
It's a tough question.
Definitely. Ultimately, digging into these sources is a stark reminder, isn't it? That line between comfort and terror, between what we think is real and pure nightmare, it can be incredibly thin, almost non-existent sometimes. Well, that brings us to the end of our exploration of these genuinely fascinating and frightening stories. You've given us a lot to chew on. From those creepy orbs that might be protectors to the despair of the plates and the just awful fate of the iron in the Black Lagoon.
It definitely leaves you with the final thought to consider, doesn't it? What unseen things, what hidden truths might be lurking just under the surface of your everyday life, just waiting for a crack to appear?
A good, unsettling question to end on. We hope this deep dive has given you some new ways to think about fear and about the stories that manage to thrill us and really chill us. Thanks for letting us unpack all this with you.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep looking for those surprising facts and maybe keep a light on.